People complicate their lives so for nothing, for an illusory identity. And then what is left then is things are as they are at this moment. People do what they do at this moment. Beautifully illustrated in the story that you may have heard perhaps through this mouth before. In the story of the Zen master. Some of you probably don't know it, but it's such a beautiful story. The Zen master, who had an excellent reputation as a great teacher in a town in Japan, and one day was accused by a 17-year-old girl next door of being the father to her child that had just been born. The parents asked, "Who is the father?" They were shocked that she was giving birth to a baby. And she finally said, "It was the master next door. I went to see him 9 months ago for a spiritual counseling session, and then that's when he did it to me." And so the parents got extremely angry and started telling everybody about it. And they ran to the Zen master and with the baby and put it there on his floor and said, "We know what you did. You are responsible. Now you look after the baby. We don't want anything to do with this baby anymore. You take it. You are the father. We know it all now." The Zen master looked and listened. And when they said, "You are the father of this baby," he said, "Is that so?" And then they said, "Yes, and we are leaving this baby here. You can look after him." "Is that so?" Then they left. The Zen master lost his reputation. Nobody came to him for counseling sessions anymore. Nobody wanted to hear him anymore. All he had there was the baby. So that was the present moment. He picked up the baby and started getting some food, sent off somebody to get some food, and spent 1 year mostly looking after the baby that was there. A year later, the girl was a little bit more mature and suddenly confessed to her parents that the Zen master was actually not the father. It was the son of the butcher next door was the father. So, oh my God, they ran to the Zen master and said, "Please forgive us. That is all a big mistake. We've just realized that you are not the father." The Zen master looked and said, "Is that so?" And they said, "Oh, can we have the baby back now, please? We now want the baby. We'll look after it. So we want the baby back." "Is that so? Okay." Yeah. And off they went. This is an extreme example of the good that comes, only good, when no story, even stories that other people try to impose on you, is accepted. No story is taken on. And this then is an extreme example of, it's a teaching story, it's an extreme example of non-reactive relationship to life and a non-story imposing relationship on life. They had their story. They had to make the Zen master wrong. The Zen master refused any kind of story, he wasn't a victim of circumstance. He didn't say, "I can't look after this baby, what do I do? I can't have spent my time." No, he did what was there to do at that moment. So the baby had the best possible start in life, because for 1 year grew up in this energy field of great peace with the Zen master. But then the Zen master did not cling, did not have a clinging relationship to that. He was able to, in the moment, let go of the past and relinquished the baby and responded to this moment. The parents now, he so genuinely wanted the baby back. She was going to marry the butcher's son. So this is an example of the simplicity. It may be a little bit extreme. You can of course say, "No, I am not the father." That would be another possibility that is still not a story. No, I'm not the father, but if that is what you believe, I cannot help it. Again, you're not buying into the story. But if you had your own, then you have a story to counteract their story, and so on and so on. The stuff out of which drama is made. So look at your life and see, are you facing situations as they are? Or are you imposing and mixing up something here? Stories on the simplicity that is always there in this moment. So it's good to know that, because the mind will always try to manufacture stories. And the biggest one, of course, the most intriguing story, is the story of me and my life. That's so interesting. And if you can't tell anybody else about me and my life, then you can tell yourself about me and about my life. Oh, well, the story of me, the most fascinating story. And the story of me is part of the ego, the egoic sense of self. Not saying that you do not remember what happened to you. Of course you remember what happened to you. Not saying don't have the photo albums anymore. You still have the photo albums, but to derive your identity from a story. And when you look at the story of me, they can see that a lot of the identity that is derived from the story of me is to do very often with making other people wrong, and see how right you have been in that situation and how wrong those people have been to you compared to, or situations, or God, him, her, or itself. God itself has done something to you. And so attached to the story are certain emotions, resentments. The story is enormously energized by resentments and anger, sadness. They did to me. All kinds of things. Can you look through the story and die to the story? Not lose your memory, but die to the story as a self-reference, as giving you your sense of self. So where does your sense of self come from then, if you let go of that, if you die to that and see that's not who you are, and you die to the unconsciousness of manufacturing further stories? Even complaining, let's go back to the example of the cold soup. Complaining about the cold soup is another story. The moment you complain about it, I'm not saying heat it up, please, that's not complaining, but the inner complaining or the outer verbal complaining, which implies making something or someone wrong, that's the story. So drama, unconscious people are waiting just for the next thing out of which they can manufacture drama. The egoic identity, in conjunction with the pain body, is just looking out for the next thing out of which to manufacture their next dramatic episode. Now, the kind of dramas that people are drawn into vary a little. Some people have the victim drama, somebody's always doing it to me. Other people have other kinds of drama. They get very angry with situations and people. Others may get very sad. Poor me. Well, that's the victim. I can't remember what else. There are quite a few. And then you see how they use the tiniest events to add a little bit, to incorporate into their dramatic story. So if you can see that in others, that's already great. If you can see it in yourself, it's even greater when it happens. See it. And so you see what that is. Some people have a greater amount of a denser ego and a denser pain body than others. But the basic principle is there in everyone to some extent, greater or lesser. But it ceases to operate the more you step into presence. Then there's still only remnants of that occasionally come in. And then your life becomes simplified. So simple. Simplify, simplify, said one famous writer. Thoreau, I think it was. Simplify, simplify. Now people talk about simplifying their lives and they think it's to do with not indulging in excessive consumption and so on, which of course is good too, but that happens naturally. The true simplification happens on the inner level. Let go of the stories. Pay more attention to this moment than anything else. This is the day that we spend in silence, the day that we spend listening, always just this moment. It sounds like a big thing if we say we'll spend the whole day listening, watching, being alert, attentive, alert to your surroundings and alert on the inner level. The more alert you are to sense perceptions, the more alertness you will also have within.